I was invited into a hospital setting to do a day-long team-building retreat. The CEO of the hospital was greatly concerned. There was a culture that had evolved of competitiveness between departments. They had become very much siloed. Retention, especially of nurses, was at an all-time low. So he was hoping that by bringing together 100 of his top leaders, that they could somehow do a culture shift. They could re-engage with the strategic goals and mission of the hospital. We felt it was important not just to have the top leaders of the organization there present, but for people to be able to hear the stories of employees at all levels. So the first event of the day was to break people into pairs, cross silos, cross levels, no titles, first names only, and begin to have them share their own stories of why they do what they do. So the CEO of the organization actually got connected with an administrative assistant and doctors with nurses and people who would never have spoken previous to this being matched to begin to share, why do you work here? How do you live the goals and the values of this organization on a daily basis? Perhaps one of the most moving stories of the day, and a story that brought everybody together in a very different way, came from a cafeteria worker. When she was asked what she did and why she worked here, she said, "I work at this hospital because I heal people." She talked about how every day both patients and their families would come through her line to check out. She got to know them, their stories, to hear what they were struggling with. She asked them about their families. She shared the story of how one day an older couple came through who she had been following for a couple of months but hadn't seen them recently in the past week. As they got to her station to check out with their lunch, she said, "How are you?" And they began to cry. They said, "We lost our daughter." And she said, "I feared that." And they said, "We came back today just for lunch because we knew that you cared and would want to know what happened. And we want to thank you especially for taking care of us and our time here in the hospital." She turned to the room and she said, "I know you doctors think that your work is the curing, but there's people at all levels here are doing healing every day, and that's why I work here." I can assure you that that cafeteria worker had never seen the strategic goals, couldn't recite one of the bullets on the bullet points that the CEO had shared so many times, but she was living the values of that organization. And in hearing her story, at all levels from the CEO through the doctors and the nurses, they realized the common underlying values that brought them all together, that the strategic goals were alive in her as they were in every member of that organization, being lived to heal, to cure. They were all an essential part of that team.